Hi, welcome to today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have a fantastic guest with me today, but I want to ask you a question first. Have you ever felt like it's too late to change? Maybe you've even said out loud, "Oh, I'm just too old to start that new exercise routine or change my habits or get healthier." Well, the guest that I have with me today is going to tell you something very different to that. Gayla Beyer is joining me to share why it's never too late to make a change. Gayla is a fellow health and wellness coach, someone who I've known for the past 12 months or so and seen her grow and build a lot of passion and progress in our own business to help other women really take, that full opportunity of their life as they approach that retirement stage. So today we're going to explore so much around why you can make those changes at any point in your life and find out more from Gayla about what she's doing and how she's made some really amazing changes in her life. So welcome to the podcast, Gayla.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to have you here because we've had some fantastic conversations and I do really adore your passion and what you stand for. So before we dive into all things, no restrictions, I'd love to just ask you about your own most impactful healthy habit and what helps you the most in your toolkit.
Yes. So I would say if I had to pick the number one healthy habit that I have found the most impactful in my life, it's been to connect with the deeper, authentic part of myself that is the knowing part of me, the part of me that is aware of what I really want for my life and is just connected with all the other aspects of my wellness, how I choose to eat, how I choose to move my body, how I choose to sleep, how I manage my stress. All of this radiates from this sense of myself and this inner knowing that I have. And when I'm not connected with this deeper, authentic self, this deeper part of me, um, I am not able and willing to, choose the healthy habits and make the minute by minute decisions that I need to make in order to live the life that I want to live. So I
Mm.
think that would be, I would say, the number one um, tip or tool that I have used that has then informed all of the other tools that I have.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're going to explore more of this because this is right in the center, at the heart of what you're about and help people with, isn't it? But is there a thing that you do daily to check in with yourself to make sure that you are connecting to that knowing so that you're not in that state of, kind of imbalance?
Yes. So I would say not always every day because life happens and there are external distractions for all of us that can kind of get in the way. And so I would say that I have, the intention to connect, but it doesn't always happen every day. But I do have part of a morning routine that I do where I, kind of do a brain dump where I'll journal out all of my thoughts and do a brain dump and then kind of go back and look at what I've written through a kind of a, a knowing mind, my deeper self kind of looking at
Mm.
that. And then I can kind of determine, well, what's true, what isn't true, what's black and white thinking, and, what's serving me well, what isn't serving me well. And I can kind of look at all of those thoughts and then, make some changes. I do have a gratitude practice, and that helps a lot to reframe how I look at things. That's part of my morning routine as well. So the gratitude and then the kind of the brain dump. And
Yeah.
so those are two things that I do in the morning. And then the other part of my routine is At least 3 or 4 times a year, I go on a self-created mini retreat. And I just get away by myself because I'm an introvert and I really like to be just alone by myself with my thoughts without all the external distractions. And I get away and really take stock and get really in touch with this deeper part of myself and make some, usually make some plans and get some answers and some insights to questions that I have. So I have, daily practices that I do most of the time. And then I have these kind of bigger, every 3 months or so practices that really connect me and ground me to all the rest of the time.
What an amazing thing to do for yourself and to make you feel so much stronger and healthier and purpose driven and so on. And I know when we've chatted about this before, you've shared the impact that this has had on you and the way that you live and now what it's led you to do to support other women. So when did these solo retreats start? How long have you been trying to do these every quarter or so?
Yeah, so I've been doing them for most of my adult life.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of got the idea from these kind of personalized mini retreats from the church retreats and the work retreats and the wellness retreats that I had gone to early on. And I just kind of took pieces of all those with various points in my life and created my own little personal mini retreats with taking bits and pieces of those different aspects of those retreats. And what I found is for me, because I'm very anxious, I have a pretty significant anxiety problem. And I'm also sensitive. So I am affected by a lot of energy around me and can tend to be kind of outwardly focused. And when I'm able to get away by myself where I can really focus inwardly and find that
Mhm.
inner voice, that inner essence that really knows me and knows my values and knows what I really want out of this life and what's really important to me, then I can take that with me as I move then into the weeks after the retreat. So I've really been doing it for my whole life. And actually, what going on these retreats is how I ended up deciding to leave my role as a nurse practitioner and become a health coach.
Oh, fantastic. And so much of what you said there is about self-awareness, isn't it? And that's
Yes.
that's often the big shift that happens when somebody starts this transformational process of knowing they want to change and improve their life, whether it's health related or maybe it's relationship or job or finances. It could be anything, couldn't it? And what usually happens through that process is the awareness around how you are as a person, how you work, your belief system, why you think a certain way, why you act a certain way, why you feel a certain way. And all of those things that you learn about yourself help you to then get clear about what it is you want your life to be like and to make those changes. And that becomes, as we know, such a powerful thing to experience and to then have in who you are and how you go about your life. But to have that so early in your life is just remarkable, really, and to have had that discovery, because so few people have this, don't they? Like, we're just not brought up to be self-aware and to think about our emotions and our belief systems and so on. And so was there something early on in your life that led you to be this person who goes inwards and really connects with and knows who they are?
Yeah, I think it started by just from being an introvert and being an anxious introvert and needing to be out of my everyday environment and in a another location or another environment that's nurturing to me, for me to be able to have that calm uh, environment, to be able to get in touch with this kind of deeper unconscious part of myself that's always there with me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's always there, but I'm just not aware of it because I've been so focused externally on job and family and all of the problems that come up in life, and the stressors and the news and the distractions, and been so focused on all those things that there just hasn't been this kind of quiet time to be introspective and to really
Mm-hmm.
listen to this deeper unconscious part of myself. So in a way, when I go on these retreats, it just lowers the awareness level to the point where I'm more in touch with this unconscious part of myself that I'm not normally aware of.
Yeah. And so on one of these solo retreats where you're taking some time to reflect and think about your life, what was it that led you to make that decision? Because you were at a later stage of your life, if you don't mind me asking. How old are you, Gayla?
I'm 63.
63. So you've been a nurse practitioner for how many years? Or you were?
I was a nurse practitioner in the nursing world for like 20 years, I think, and
Wow.
around there. And then I just had one day where I was really busy with my role as a nurse practitioner. And, I would just kind of dread Monday morning and, get up and go to work and just kind of go through my day without really any type of introspection around it, because I was focused on my patients. I was focused on my charting. I was focused on the expectations of me. Everything was externally focused and just kind of living for Friday. And then the weekend went too fast. And, I was just kind of in that rut that so many of us can get into when we're working and we're really busy working. And I just remember I was sitting there, charting, and I just had this realization that, man, I just feel lost. I don't want to continue to do this. I really don't want to continue to do this. I'd really like to retire, but I'm not really ready to just stop working altogether. I feel like I have more that I have to offer, and I had some ideas around how I wanted to do that. But I felt lost, like I had no idea how to move forward. And so I just thought, okay, Gayla, this is a time for one of your mini retreats. And I kind of planned it all out. And I had a, a structure that I put in place for it, where I took a lot of healthy food. I made my own food, and I ate a lot of the food that I know nourishes me, and I stayed hydrated, and I got a lot of exercise, and I meditated, and I did some journaling, and I redid some of the exercises that I know have helped me in the past, where I'm really looking at my values and my strengths and what I really love. And then watching all of those beliefs that we can have that are stopping us, those, those mental blocks, and kind of watching for those mental blocks. And so I was in a hotel room, and I ended up having my walls just covered in sticky notes with all sorts of ideas about, ways that I could, do kind of what I wanted to do, which was to help, so many of my clients working as a nurse practitioner, so many of my patients wanted to make a behavior change, and they just couldn't do it. And they would come back over and over with the same, in the same kind of boat, suffering because they wanted to make a change, but they just couldn't figure out how to do it. or I could tell they were being less than honest with me about the progress that they had made. How many of us haven't lied to our doctor from time to time, right? And so, so I just really felt like I wanted to be able to help have the time to be able to help people make these changes that they really wanted to make. And at that point, I really didn't know how to do that. I didn't know a lot about health coaching or coaching in general because I was in academic medicine, as working with patients. And so that's what I did. I just covered the walls with sticky notes and looked at them every day and did some online assessments and really kind of came away from that mini retreat with some ideas about that I wanted to pursue. And then when I get back from that, lo and behold, things just start to open up, right? As can happen, whether you want to call it, what is not the secret, but
like manifesting.
Manifesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it manifesting, or if you want to call it just being open to seeing, opportunities that you might not have been aware of if you hadn't been looking. And then all of a sudden, I just had these opportunities that popped up into my life, and so that's kind of how I ended up where I am now. But it all stemmed from this mini retreat.
And was there a point when you thought about where you were in your life with your age and the career that you were still in and how long you'd been doing that? And obviously, after that many years, you had so much knowledge and so much experience to offer in the healthcare system, but also knowing that you were approaching that retirement season of life. Was there a little voice saying, "Oh, Gayla, I think you're too old. I think this is too late to be making such a big change in your life"?
Yes, there was initially when I thought about retiring, um, when the experience of having retirement be on the horizon was like a goal. In that time, it was a goal. It was something that was a threshold that once I crossed over that, then I was going to be retired and, my life was going to be completely different. And what I have discovered as I have been working with retiring women and seeing the trends that are happening now at this stage of our social development, where so many women who are retiring or of the age of moving through this transition are the same women that were having this same transition when we were younger in our early 20s and we're working, and we're not, weren't staying home weren't being as many of us being stay-at-home moms. So that was a transition. And so what I've discovered now is that what we're really moving into is another transition where we are leading the way into this transition, where it's not necessarily about an end goal, an end point. Retirement isn't an end point. It's a process. And for some women, it may be that retirement, some women may never retire. They may always want to work some. Some women may want to cut back a little bit and work part-time and, have a little more freedom around that. And some other women will just want to stop working altogether and, pursue some leisure activities or some hobbies, that kind of thing. So the concept of retirement, in my view, is changing. And it's much different than it has been in the past when you think of a traditional retirement.
Certainly where I live, in this region of England in the northeast, where it was very industrial, there was a lot of manual labor, the shipyards, the coal mines, lots of factories and production and so on. This point in your life of retirement was definitely about the end. It was like, I'm going to work so hard and I have to work so hard. And then as soon as I can retire, that is it. I'm out of here. And then, life starts. But what many people found was actually, sadly, it wasn't the beginning of a new season of life, as you can now see that it is, but it was often really the beginning of the decline into old age. And obviously our lifespan has extended so much over the past 50 years even. As you say, we're now seeing this generation who are approaching the typical retirement age bracket of, maybe 65 or even 60 plus as it used to be for women here, but it's gone up quite a few years over the recent few years. That it's a new opportunity to take advantage of what you have ahead of you and not think of it as, oh, I've got to do this before it's too late. And that's what I really wanted to chat, and explore more with you, because regardless of what age you are, you might be listening and you could be 35. And I would probably put money on it that at some point you've said, oh, I can't change, I'm too stuck in my ways, or yeah, it's too difficult now. I've definitely heard that from people around my age range and in their 50s who are like, oh, I'm too long in the tooth to do anything different now. This is just me. This is just how I eat. This is just what I do. And one of the things that I hear a lot is around exercise, and that it's just impossible. You can't change. What's that saying? You can't teach an old dog new tricks, but actually, we're here to say that you can. And so, yeah, you've proven that you have been able to make a big change, and that wasn't just a career change, although that was enough on its own, but you've invested in you feeling even better, and that was one of the parts of that process that is leading you towards living this amazing next chapter of your life, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that so many just like in the earlier transitions of our lives, women make different choices. Not every woman is going to make the same choices, right? And it's the same as we're transitioning into this retirement time, or this next chapter, as I like to call it, where, there's a lot of, first of all, I'll say we don't have a lot of role models, because the generations
True.
before us, many of the women didn't work for their entire career in roles where they really they had huge contributions to society and had leadership roles. And so this is really the first generation now that is moving into this next chapter with all of these skills and all of this talent and skills, and so much that they have to offer, and have been very relevant in the conversation for many, many years. And we're almost like trailblazers in a way, because now we're moving into this next chapter with all of these same skills and talents and gifts. And some of us want to be able to use those same skills and talents and gifts to contribute in other ways. Some of us want to develop some new skills that we've always kind of been curious about. And then other ones are just, they've put in their time and they're ready to just be done and have the freedom to just, do whatever comes up for them. So I think the idea of being kind of this feeling of being too old for something, to be too old to make a change, when we look at it as a transition, from, it's just part of life's transition. We're always changing. And so I look at it like there, for someone, I think the where you said the kind of the analogy or the comment that you said of you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I think we're proving that wrong. We're proving that wrong by this new wave of retiring women who are coming in and just showing people that that is absolutely wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that I was thinking about as you were just, talking there, Gayla, is how this this opportunity that you're helping women to see isn't necessarily about staying in work or finding a new career and something you're passionate and want to do that you didn't for whatever reason do at an earlier stage in life, but it's also about knowing that whatever it is you want you can have, because again that old way of viewing retirement, which was linked to the aging process, restricted what we were supposed to do and therefore what we allowed ourselves to be open to. And so a big part of what you're trying to do is to help women to see that whatever it is they want in retirement, even if that means doing their gardening and spending as much time with their grandkids as possible and just getting out for walks, some women are actually struggling to think that that's even a possibility for them because of their health, because we're facing a reality where the majority of people aren't being active enough, aren't taking care of themselves through healthy nutrition and managing stress and so on. And so we're seeing a lot of people, feeling those limits because of maybe some health and illness challenges. So you're trying to help them see that it is possible to make changes to your health, to change whatever it is you want to do in your life, even if that is living a slower paced life with just more leisure time and time for new hobbies, isn't it?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And this is actually one of my favorite things to talk with women about because here's my little bit of a controversial take on this. Okay. I think by the time we get to be in our mid 50s and 60s, we really know how to live a healthier lifestyle. We really know what we like to do, what we like to eat, what diet we like to have, or what nutrition we like to have. We've if we have a health problem, a medical problem like diabetes or hypertension or some sort of inflammatory process going on, we've been to a some sort of a medical provider or expert who maybe has given us some education around that, or a dietitian. So we have information, and there is so much information online for people to get the facts, the details about what they could do. So it's not a question of knowledge, of knowing what, and same with exercise. We know like what we like to do, what we've liked to do in the past, what we are limited with because of maybe some joint problems we have. We know that, but again, all of this is subconscious. It's unconscious to us when we're busy and outwardly focused. So what's fun is to help these women to kind of talk through, well, bring to light the things that they have loved to do in the past, or that they think would be interesting to try because they think that would work for them, and chances are it will, and to be able to help them from this deeper, authentic place, because that's when you're coming from that place, you don't really need motivation, because it's already going to make sense to you that that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and I think certainly what I say makes me think not everyone does know what to do. I think the knowledge is there, it's available, as in, it's on the news, it's on TV, it's yeah, everywhere you turn, really, there is that information there. But I think certainly for women, the movement that we are seeing, especially around that menopausal stage of life, which is helping women to feel empowered to understand what's going on in that specific season of transition, which is a huge one. I'm hoping that as we see that change and shift, that's going to help women to know much more earlier in their life to make those changes, to value their health, to take care of themselves, so that as they, get into their 50s, whatever age or whatever way retirement might look for them, they can look at it without the blinkers on. They can look at it blue sky and imagine what they want, and know that then they can work with someone like you to get really clear on that, and to achieve those things that maybe they never got round to on their bucket list, or new things that they think, actually, now's the time to do that, now that the kids have grown up and they've got their own independence, and I can slow down at work maybe, or speed up and do something different. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of
Yeah.
information and knowledge available. I think the key is what you're saying about knowing what works for you, and being curious about that as well, because the story you gave of being so busy in your job and career, and just everything with then family life, and practical elements of running your home, and having a job, and everything, we all get caught up in what I call that spin cycle. It's like a washing machine. I used to feel like I was on a cycle Monday to Friday, waiting for the weekend, but then Saturday would come and I was just on a different, probably faster cycle, of doing the washing, the shopping, the cleaning, the clubs on a weekend, and family visits, and everything. And I think we just get so caught up in that we don't pause to go, actually, what do I like to do? What do I really enjoy? Do I like to see these people on a Saturday afternoon, or would I prefer to do something else? And, to get curious about what it is that actually helps you to feel happy, and to, make sure that your well-being is being nurtured.
Yes. Yeah, I think, I don't know, I have had this experience myself where I have heard somebody say something about a health benefit to me probably 50 times. And because the 51st time I was in a space where I could really hear it and see the possibility of it and hold it as true and connect it to the part of myself, this deeper part of myself, that I could really take it in, then it registered with me.
Mm.
So it's, I think, so much of all of the information that we have to our fingertips, we can hear it over and over, and we can think it's interesting, and there's even a longing to want to understand it. But until we're really connected to this deeper part of ourselves, this unconscious part of ourselves, that's the authentic self, the part of us that really knows what we want from our life, then it just doesn't penetrate. It doesn't get in and make sense. so so that's kind of what I meant about, that by this
Mm.
time we kind of know, because there's this sort of knowing for us, that, you know, okay, I know I like these foods, and I know I don't like these foods, and I know these foods give me a stomach ache. And, I know when I eat these foods, I feel energetic and good. And when I eat these foods, I feel like a slug. Well, right there, that's a huge amount of information, but we don't necessarily think about that and incorporate even just that
Mm.
simple formulation into our lives. We're too busy looking, well, is keto what I should do? Is vegan what I should do? Should I be intermittent fasting? That's looking outwardly, at all the different
Mm.
options that we have that come and go and change,
Mm.
rather than just looking inwardly at, okay, what has worked for me in the past? What do I enjoy? What can I not give up? What am I just not going to give up because I really enjoy it? Do I eat emotionally? Let's think about that, just that inward part of us. So
Mm.
that's kind of what I meant by that.
Yeah, and so I know, as I said, that's right at the heart of what you're doing in your business and the coaching framework that you've developed. So for someone who might be hearing this and thinking, yeah, I haven't ever taken time to think about that, and I know I do keep thinking, oh, I should take better care of myself, I should do something different to feel healthier, but maybe it's having that little devil on their shoulder telling them that, oh, it's too difficult, you're too old now, and so on. What advice would you give them to try to take some of that time to get curious about who they are and what they actually need and what is going to work for them to feel healthier and happier?
Yeah. So many of the women that I work with are just really, really busy. And when you're so busy that there's almost a panic to how busy you are, it's really hard to think about taking some time away and creating some space to be able to get in touch with this deeper part of ourselves. And so that would be my first recommendation, is to think about that in a little bit different light of how can I find just a small amount of time, even if it's a couple of hours, where I can really kind of be centered and focused and just be alone with my own thoughts. And that brings up a really scary point. And that is, so many, and I was this way. The thought of taking a couple of hours away by myself to like sit with my thoughts was actually pretty terrifying. Like, what? No distractions? No, just me by myself and my thoughts. What am I going to do? What do I do with myself? So, there are some structures in place around some journaling, if that's your thing. Some people don't get any benefit out of journaling, but you can also kind of journal in your mind,
Mm.
write some stories in your mind, or, use a recorder, a video recorder, and just kind of talk through some thoughts on a walk. It doesn't need to be sitting down with a special notebook to be able to journal. And the other thing is just to practice some mindfulness, exercises, whatever that is for you. There's so many different ways to do that. But for people who are kind of afraid to spend that time alone to get started, guided imagery or guided meditations, having somebody kind of talk you through an experience can be really, really helpful.
Good tips,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So, and then, if a mini retreat sounds intriguing, that's really a great way to get away. You can have mini retreats at home. For me, I need to get away, because when I'm home, I'm in my environment and I just kind of get into you know, a a way of feeling and thinking and being when I'm in my home environment. Whereas if I get out of that, then I seem to be a little freer and I have more freedom in what I'm thinking. Um, so, getting away for, a day, just a day, to take a whole day to really focus on yourself, eat healthy food, whatever that is for you, drink lots of water, kind of flush all the toxins out, and get some exercise, get out and move, maybe get a massage, and spend a couple of hours on a little workshop where you're, connecting to that deeper, authentic part of yourself. Create a wonderful space for this where you feel nurtured, and maybe you have candles or, some diffusers or something that whatever makes you feel really special and calm and connected.
Mm. And what would you say if someone's in doubt about whether this is worth doing? Like, why should they do this?
Yeah. So, I think that the person who would benefit from this is someone who, like me, is maybe notices that I am externally focused a lot of the time, and I don't have sometimes I just feel lost because I'm so focused outwardly that inwardly I'm not really connected with my center or my core. Other women who can benefit from this is if they're just so busy that they're just exhausted and they just need to rest and they just need to recharge and take time away to just focus on themselves and take care of themselves. Some women have a decision to make, something that they've been ruminating about forever, and they're in analysis paralysis and they just can't make a decision. It could be a big life decision or could be a smaller one. And just to be able to take some time away with some structure to really go over pros and cons and what's really important deep down can really help to make a decision. And to really plan this next chapter, this next chapter that you're moving into of, retirement or whatever that might look for you, and just exploring all the options so that you can start to make some first steps as to how to move into this next chapter of our lives. And the kind of the final thing and the main thing is when you've just kind of gotten out of your healthy habits, waking up every morning with that guilt that, that, oh man, I did it again. That hopelessness of I'm never going to get this back on track. To be able to take some time away to just really focus on why you want to have those healthy habits in the first place and get really reconnected with that. And then figuring out how to move forward to create a plan to get back into those habits or whatever habit in particular you're looking at. So those are just some of the reasons why someone might benefit from going on a mini retreat.
Oh, all great reasons, and so many tips that people can really take and put into action. As Gayla said, you can do this at home. You can do it, in your own home with just a bit of time and space to have to yourself. And I think that the key message behind this and behind, I guess, what any health coach is about, but especially what I'm about, is that we all want to live a happy life. That's, the term we give it. We want to be happy. And that means different things to every one of us. And usually it's about fulfillment, again, in whatever form that looks like. We want to have a full life and we want to live a long life. And so by being intentional and getting to know what you need and what helps you and nurtures you, and also what that might need to look like going forward, is just a huge piece of making sure that you do live a great life. And I think with the conversation we're having specifically around that retirement season of life and that chapter, it is exactly that. It's still an unwritten chapter of your life. It doesn't have to be the beginning of the end of your story. It can be anything you want it to be. And my dad, I think when this podcast episode goes out, he will have just turned 75. And last year he went to Singapore, Brisbane, I can't remember, Bali, Dubai for 7 weeks, traveling on his own. Then he come out and he was like, right, I'm booking the next holiday. And he joined it with a singles club and went to Benidorm, which is in Spain and a real party place. But he's been on a cruise on his own, and he's done lots of things. He joined an art class locally, and I didn't even know that he could paint. I don't think he did. And he started, watercolor painting scenes, and actually is very good. And I keep saying this to him about looking forward to making it whatever he wants it to be without those limits, because again, he's definitely of that generation of, maybe I should be doing this and that. He's mainly the opposite, where he's like, I'm going to go away and I'm going to try and do this and be quite independent and not let that hold him back. But yeah, life's for living, isn't it? And we all want to live that full life. And the longer we're healthy and strong, the more we will be able to fill up every single day that we do have in our life. And that's ultimately what we're trying to help people to do, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. And that is one of the things that comes out of this, deeper exploration of what we really want is that awareness that in order for us to be able to do all these things we want to do in our lives, we do need to keep ourselves healthy and strong. And and I will tell you the number one thing for women who are moving into this, this next chapter, first thing I would recommend is to start strength training, because that is so important to everything really. But strength training is something that a lot of women who are moving into this next chapter don't do. They may get out and move or walk or, do some other cardiovascular type exercises, but they don't do the strength training. And that has just been found, strength and balance training has been found to be so critically important in helping us to be able to travel in our 70s and, walk over the cobblestone streets and drag our bags up the stairs to our flat and get on and off the platforms, So,
Yeah.
so that's one thing that's really important.
I'm totally in favor of that. And that's something I'm trying to help women see the benefit of and rationale for doing earlier, because again, women are still waiting for things to go wrong through menopause to then say, well, I haven't got any symptoms, I'm fine. And I'm trying to educate them that it's not about waiting for the fire to put the flames out, but it's about building that strength and knowing that the fire isn't going to start in the first place. So yeah, strength training is definitely something that we should all be doing, men and women of every age. And that's one of the things I really love to talk about, because there's that saying, isn't there, that muscle is the currency of longevity, because muscle, and this is a whole other podcast episode, but is everything, as you said, that moving, that lifting, that helping ourselves to get up and down the stairs, in and out the car, and especially when so many of us do want to maximize those years after retirement with nice travel and experiences.
Yes, and to
Yeah.
keep ourselves from falling,
Well, yeah,
because
because
our balance
that's
does. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right, Nicola. If you can start strength training early when you still have estrogen, some estrogen, to help you pack on the muscles. I mean, that is ideal, because then you will keep that. It is harder as we get older to build the muscle. So, the earlier the better. Yeah, for sure.
definitely, yeah. Oh, well, it's been fantastic chatting as always, Gayla, and I just am delighted to be able to share your passion on this podcast episode. And Gayla does have her own podcast as well, which I absolutely love. It's got such a great name, hasn't it? Which is
Retire Your Limits, the Retire Your Limits
Mhm.
podcast. Yep.
Yeah, and
Yep.
so the
And
message
we
is,
we
yeah.
focus. Yeah, yeah, we just do focus on kind of reframing the retirement journey, as it's not just, it's not only just a traditional retirement option, but there are many options for women who are moving into this next chapter of their lives. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going to say apply that outlook, whatever stage of life you are, retire those limits. Don't ever think that it's too late, it's too hard, it's not possible for you. If you're below retirement age and you have that outlook, then it's going to get harder. That's the reality.
Yeah,
As you age, when you do approach that age, you're going to hold yourself back in lots of ways. So the earlier you can have that mindset of, opportunity and abundance and possibility and adventure, excitement, all of those things, then the more fulfilled your life will be for longer. But yeah, Gayla's
absolutely.
podcast is, I'll pop it into the show notes, and let everyone know where they can connect with you as well if they'd like to find out more about what it is that you do.
That sounds great. Yeah. I have some information about creating your own personal mini retreat. If that's something that's interesting or sounds intriguing to your audience, I have some information there that could help you to create your own personal mini retreat.
And I love that. I think I need to have a look at that myself as well. I think my ideal retreat would be somewhere lovely and sunny where I can just be waited on with delicious food and have someone, leading some nice, maybe Pilates rather than yoga, because I wouldn't say I'm a huge yoga fan, but someone who's just there
Yes.
guiding me through a nice sound bath, and then I could have a massage, and it sounds delightful. But yeah, as Gayla said, she's helping you to build your own retreat, because not all of us, me included, can afford either financially to go off somewhere like that on an all expenses paid retreat, or take time away from work and life to do that. So there's ways, as Gayla said, to do that while being at your own home, or maybe just going somewhere locally to take a few hours in an afternoon out, or if you can, staying away overnight, whatever it is, and maybe even doing it with a couple of friends and building something
Yes.
together, which would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be amazing? And then
I
you could
know.
have, conversations around what you kind of discovered as you've been going, deeper. It's always
Mm-hmm.
so great to be able to share that with trusted friends. So,
Oh,
yeah, small
lovely.
groups are wonderful for small mini retreats. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds brilliant, doesn't it? So thank you, Gayla, for your time and for chatting, with us today. As I said, it's been amazing, and I always enjoy just hearing what you're up to and learning from you as well. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Nikolai. You have been a big inspiration to me
Oh,
as I've moved into this new career as a health and wellness coach. And I just really appreciate you so much. And I
thank you.
love your podcast.
Oh, yay, thank you. That's lovely to hear. And yeah, it's amazing, these sort of connections that I've built through this journey, and being able to support people like you, because I'm alongside you trying to build my business, but knowing that we're at very different parts of the world as well. Gayla's you are in Portland, aren't you,
Yeah.
in Oregon?
Yep.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is where the Nike World head office is, where I've been myself
Yes, it
before. But
is.
yeah, 8 hours behind the UK, and yet we're so far away, but can have relationships like this. It's just incredible. And so I really enjoy being able to bring people like you, who I've connected and formed a very good relationship with, onto the podcast for others to learn from and be inspired by as well. So thank you.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.